Hey, good afternoon. This is Brian Stevens with eXp Realty. I'm with the Realtors of Faith, and I am excited and privileged to have a conversation with my business partner, one of my longtime friends. He was, in fact, in my wedding, 25 plus years ago, Russ Rhoads. Russ is with eXp Realty also, and he has been licensed over 30 years. Russ is one of the greatest human beings you'll ever meet, and he's got a great name in the community. He is a mentor. He's a coach. He's a helper. He's got a servant's heart. He's a top producer with eXp. He's an icon agent, which is a high producing award, and he's been a top producer with some of the other firms we've been with too. And he just loves to serve God in his business. So, Russ, my business partner, my friend, thank you for being on here today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Happy to be on here to talk to you, and I hope I can say some things to back up all those nice things that you said about me.
Well, I appreciate that, and I mean it all too. So, um, just want to have a conversation. Share, if you would, Russ, since introducing you to some people on our channel here and with our organization, can you share just a little bit about your background and how you got into real estate?
Is pretty varied, and it's interesting because when I look back at what I did in my career, it seemed like everything that I was doing, God was preparing me to go into real estate. My initial job out of college, so I went to Muskingum College in New Concord, Ohio. I majored in business administration and economics, and interviewed with two companies in my senior year, General Motors and Procter and Gamble, and I had offers from both companies. So my decision was to go to Procter and Gamble. I liked more of the type of program that they had and what I was going to do in business administration, and also loved the city of Cincinnati. So it was interesting at that time because I'm a huge baseball fan. I grew up in Philadelphia, and I'd never been to the World Series. So I went to work for Procter and Gamble. Our office was about 4 blocks from Riverfront Stadium. I could walk down to the corner, look down the street, and look at the stadium. It was the most exciting thing in the world, and that was in 1972. So I'm aging myself. But they had the big red machine. That's what the Cincinnati Reds were called at that time, with Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, all these Hall of Famers. And they ended up going to the World Series that year, and I got to go to the World Series, all 4 games that they played at home, and it was just a thrill of my life. So that started my career, and I was transferred from Cincinnati to Cleveland 6 months out of college, which was not a real, it was not my choice. It was, this is what you're going to do. You're going to report to this office. You're going to be the assistant sales office manager. And it was a great opportunity, but it wasn't what I wanted to do at that time in my life. So I stayed with Procter and Gamble for 3 years, and then went into sales. I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Tampa, and went to work for Lanier Business Products, selling copy machines. So I went from a desk job to going out and knocking on doors. And to be very honest with you, starting out, it was the scariest thing that I had ever done in my life. I remember the first call that I ever made, the first cold call. I sat there in my car and I was reading a Zig Ziglar book, trying to get the confidence and the guts just to walk through that first sales door. And so that was how my career in sales started. After a number of years with Lanier, I started some small businesses on my own, and eventually came back to Florida. I had moved up to Cincinnati, met my wife, got married. We had our first child coming, and we decided we didn't really want to stay in the cold climate of Cincinnati. We wanted to come back to Florida. So I called a really good friend of mine that owned a copy machine dealership in Lakeland, Florida, and he hired me over the phone, and within a couple months we were in Lakeland, and that's how my career started in Lakeland, with selling copy machines. And then I was a sales manager, and eventually I realized that was not what I wanted to do, and had an opportunity to start my own business selling actually copy machine stands. And in 1980, I opened up that business and had that business for 22 years. So that would take me to 2002. But after about 16 years of running that company, I realized that I was not fulfilled. This was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was 46 years old at that time. Very honestly, I had three choices, three things that I felt God put on my heart as opportunities. One was to go into real estate. I'd always wanted to be in real estate and actually had my license when I was 22, but never did anything with it. The other thing was possibly being an evangelist. And the third thing was teaching and coaching. I had
Yeah.
coached girls basketball on the high school level for 6 years at that point, and both of my daughters played on teams that I helped coach. And I just felt a blessing doing that and helping the young girls and helping them. It was interesting when you talk about our Christian faith.
Yeah.
We had a lot of girls on that team that were Christians, and we never told them they had to do this, but I suggested before they came on the floor every day that they meet in the room outside of the gym and have prayer after practice. And we had prayer before games, halftime of games, after games. The interesting thing some people say about prayer that God's not listening. How's God going to answer the prayers of one team versus another team? Because both teams could be praying for that.
Right.
And I just always told the girls, we're not praying to win. We're just praying to do our best and for God to give us uh, the patience and the courage to do our best. So that's how that worked. But anyway, I just had that Christian feeling that we needed to incorporate that even into a public school basketball team. Um, but around that time, again, I was looking for a new opportunity what to do with the rest of my life, and I was in deep prayer. And one night when I was praying with my daughter, um, I heard this voice come in my head, and the voice said to me, I want you to go into real estate and help my people.
Wow.
And so that was my calling. That was
Yeah.
when I realized real estate was my career to go
Mhm.
into. And I started to take all the steps and the measures to go into real estate. I did not quit my job at that time. I did not sell my company. For 6 years, I was part time. I loved it because it was helping me to send my two children to college. And when the time came after 6 years that my business had grown so much and I was doing so well, and realized that I was taking the money that I was making in real estate and feeding it into my business, I realized it's time to leave. And I remember the day that I made that decision. I put my head down on the desk and I said, Lord, I don't know what to do. And the Lord made me realize very quickly, what I want you to do is I want you to sell your business, or just close down your business, go into real estate full time, and this is what I want you to do with the rest of your life. So
Wow.
that's the decision that I made.
Wow. Wow. I think it's kind of neat too, because you said real estate, evangelist, or teacher and coach. And like, as you and I know in real estate, you're working the business. Yeah, you're evangelizing because you're talking about Jesus with the people that you feel led to do that with. I know you're praying with them, the ones that again you feel led to do that or will receive it. And you're teaching. You're teaching. You've been helping teach me, mentor me for 20 plus years. I know you meet with other real estate agents because you love building into them. And you've been able to coach what your family, your daughters. There's a certain amount of like a coaching in real estate, I would say, because you kind of have to coach your clients a little bit, right? In a sense.
Sure. I always say that God prepared me in all the things that I did in my life to be in real estate. All those
Yes.
things everything adds together, just like you were just talking about.
Yeah. That's kind of neat. I'm learning more stuff as we talk. So I think this is kind of interesting. And I've known you for a long time. So I love unpacking your story. So what are some of the specific ways that you incorporate your faith in working with your clients? What would you say you do? Some of the different kind of methods or ways that you bring in your faith in Jesus with your clients.
I would say right from the very beginning, I talk to them, especially if they are believers like we are. And there's been times people say to me, well, how do you handle it with people who aren't believers? And it's like, you just have to kind of, or if you don't know, you just have to kind of go by the Holy Spirit telling you
Yes.
this is that, or just something that they might say. You pick up on a phrase or something that a Christian might say, like, well, I'm just going in faith.
Yes.
That's a pretty good tell. Um, but God always works that out. I don't fret about that. I just feel that, okay, this is how I need to approach it. That um, I'll say something to the fact that we just have to go in faith, or God will provide, or I like to also say that we're on a quest. What the quest is for us to look at houses and for God to share with us what is the best house and to answer the prayers for those people as far as making the decision in real estate that's going to be best for them. And and then if they are Christian people, then I like to have prayer with them. Um, Almost every time that we go out, and keep the Lord at the forefront of the whole situation, that it's a journey with us finding the right house and God providing the right opportunities. And 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 I know, and everybody that's listening that's in real estate, that in transactions things get um, testy at times. That
Yes. You
there's a
think?
lot of challenges. There's a lot of problems that arise, and it's like we just gotta, in a sense, keep people calm down and let them know that no matter what happens, God's in control. God's going to provide the right home. I share the story that every time that somebody that I was working with looked at a house, went under contract, and it didn't work out, every time that God provided another house. And I always ask the question after he provided that other house, we closed. I always ask the question, and I waited till we closed before I asked this question: which house did you like the best? It was always the house that they got. So I can honestly say that to people, no matter what's happening in a real estate transaction, or something falls apart. Don't worry about it. God's going to provide the right house for you. And that's always been a very powerful um, situation, and answer to prayer for people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because it's a way of sharing your faith with them too, right? Whether they're believers or not. And I know what you're talking about. So sometimes you'll mention, let's just pray about it, or you said, prayer emoji, right? Hands, sometimes in a text message, and sometimes they receive it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it opens up the door that, oh, they are Christians, maybe if it's another realtor even, or a seller or buyer. But it is letting the Holy Spirit show you when to do it, and the timing, and just how to be bold, but yet also respectful of them too, right? And with grace. So I love that.
Well, and
Yeah.
even we are in our humanness. There's times we're involved in a transaction, and it's gotten um, very difficult, and a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. You ask yourself sometimes, well, what should I do? What approach should I take at this point? And the only thing I know how to do in that situation is to go to prayer and ask God, lead me in your ways, Lord, as far as making the right decisions, doing the right things, pushing the right buttons. It's a very difficult situation. And I was sharing with you before we got on the interview that I had a situation yesterday that kept me up
Yeah.
a lot during the night, and I thought
Yep.
about it. And it's like asking God, please provide the right approach and how to handle this situation to resolve it in a way that would be pleasing to you.
Yes. Yes. Well, you just actually went to my next question. Have you had a moment in faith where you had to respond like that? You've been tested in a transaction. You're literally going through it right today, last
Yes,
night, right?
right this second.
Right this second.
I, I don't know what's going to happen in this situation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I know God's in control,
Yes.
and I know, and I told that to the husband um, about an hour ago, that God is in control. He's going to provide the right home for you and your family, you and your wife and your family. And he was, what should I do? And I said, we just have to wait on the Lord.
Yes.
There was nothing else that we don't have all the answers yet. So you can't, when you're in that situation, you have to be patient and you have to wait on God.
You've always been very good at that. I will tell you from your business partner point of view, you've always mentioned that, hey, we're here to solve or to be problem solvers, right? To offer solutions. That's what we do. But you've always been very good with take a deep breath. Don't rush it. Be patient. Uh, Wait on the Lord. That's not something I'm great at. I know we all struggle a little bit in our humanness, but that's something you've helped me with. Take a deep breath. It's okay. Trust God more. Wait. Don't do it in your timing. Try to wait on God's timing, right? So you've always done a great job of that. And that's helped me to take a deep breath sometimes, honestly.
Well, as we get older, and some of us are more mature age-wise than others, we have that to fall back on. That we've seen how that's played in our lives over and over again. That God has answered prayers. God has provided. Um, no matter what you're dealing with, I'll share this one to you because I say this to myself all the time. When something goes wrong in your life, just ask yourself: is that the worst thing that can happen in your life? And I always answer that to people. Well, no, it's the worst thing that could happen in my life would be if something happened to my wife, something happened to one of my kids, something happened to my grandchildren, something happened to one of my friends. I don't ever look at it about myself. It's more about other people. The worst thing that could happen is if something happens to somebody that I love dearly. And I've gone through that. I've gone through situations like that. I've lost a parent. I'm very fortunate that I still have a mother that's living, that's over 100 years old.
Yes.
But the loss of a parent, the loss of somebody that's near and dear to you in your life, that's a hard thing to deal with. So when you're in a real estate transaction, something goes wrong, it's not the worst thing that can happen in life. And keep it in perspective, and try to be that Christian person who talks about faith, talks about what God can provide in your life, and it helps you to deal with the hard times.
That's good. That's great advice. Thank you for offering that up. Speaking of advice, you and I talk to a lot of new agents all the time, right? And we always like to share a little piece of us as much as we can to try to help them. We like to talk about the Lord, our company, eXp, which is a great company to grow in. What advice would you give to a new real estate agent who's a Christian? What would you tell them? What kind of just advice would you give them base level how to approach this business as a Christian?
I would say that no matter what you do, just keep the Lord first in every conversation that you have, every approach that you take. Just seek His guidance and seek His wisdom. It's hard starting out. You have to take one person at a time. That's how you build your business, is one person at a time. I always share with new agents that everybody in the real estate business started in the same place. They had to make their first sales call, whether it was a listing or a buyer. They had to make their first presentation. They had to write their first offer. Everything is a first, and nobody came into the real estate business and it was an automatic success. You have to build it one step at a time, one client at a time, one opportunity at a time. And if you do it the right way, it's going to lead to production going forward. And there's no certain time schedule. I was sharing this with somebody the other night. I'm the kind of person that I didn't quit my day job until I had been in real estate for 6 years. Now, that's not to say that there aren't people who just go into it right from the beginning and they're very successful quickly. Mine was a building process that I took that approach. I want to get my feet wet. Then I want to go up to my knees. Then I want to go up to my waist. And then I'm going to go head first into the water and test this out. I wanted to take that step-by-step approach and build my business the right way. And I never felt the pressure because I wasn't doing it from a financial standpoint. I was doing it because the Lord called me into the business to help his people. So, so there's no set way to do the real estate business. Um, I would say that anybody coming into real estate, anybody who's in real estate, they have to do what's right for them in their life and seek God's wisdom and guidance to um, uh, to accomplish that goal.
Yeah. And you didn't build your business on a house of cards. You built it on the firm foundation, which is Christ, right? I
Exactly.
mean, that's,
I was telling somebody the other day, it was interesting, when I took that approach, and my motto was helping others to the glory of God. And I was telling somebody the other night that I had a display early in my career in the mall, and one of my Christian friends said, "Well, I don't think you should have that on your display in the mall because you might not you might turn off people who aren't Christians because you're declaring your testimony is that you're a Christian person." And I said, "Well, to me, it doesn't matter because if they don't want to do business with me because I am a Christian person, then that's not who God would want me to do business with anyway." So I think your approach and how you handle things is really between you and the Lord as far as the right approach. Um, but also, what was interesting is I had an opportunity to be on a Christian radio station maybe a year into the business, and as a kind of as an expert, which I really wasn't, but God provided those kind of opportunities for me, and had an article written about me, a full page article written about me in the Ledger that. They showed it as an advertisement, but I didn't pay for the advertisement. But it was a full page, and they asked me questions, and I gave my testimony, and she printed everything that I had said, and I still have that. I read it again yesterday just to refresh my memory about that, and it was amazing how God would provide opportunities for me, and kind of put me out there as a Christian real estate agent,
yes.
and it helped to attract people to me that saw those articles and heard that radio broadcast. So
Yes.
God was in control.
Hmm. We love press because free press is even better, right? Whether it's news, the Ledger, or was it the Joy FM? Was it old Jim
Yeah, it was
Campbell
on the Joy
station?
FM. Yes.
Joy FM back, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, he gives us that platform sometimes whenever we never feel like we're ready or equipped, but right, he equips us and he gives us what to
Yeah.
say.
I don't even know how that ever came about. All I know is I got a call, and I went and was uh, was obedient to put that word out and loved that opportunity. And can't say that I don't know how that ever affected my real estate business, but you never know. People, God will put your name and he'll put you on people's hearts. Like, this is the person. I even had one time a person come to an open house. She said that she had been looking through the magazine, one of the real estate magazines that used to come out. And she said, she prayed about it and said, "God, show me the person that I'm supposed to go to get help in real estate." And when she came to my picture, she said, God told her that's the guy. Now, I don't know how you question that.
You
That's
don't.
God.
Yeah, that's God.
Yeah,
I mean, that's God.
God was putting me on people's hearts and minds um, because of that Christian approach to real estate.
Yeah. And I want to say this for our audience too, that a lot of us like to do marketing and paid ads and, advertising and social media posts, which we should all do. However, Russ has built a business. And I laugh about this because this is just honestly where we all want to get to, I think, at some point, to where it's just a referral based business, right? I mean, Russ, you couldn't run a paid Facebook ad if I asked you to, right? Actually, I don't know how to do that either. Let me just confess. I have no idea how to do that. But marketing, advertising, pay into play, you don't, and I know you don't do any of this, and people call you because of your reputation, word of mouth, because the Lord puts it on their hearts. They see you, they've heard about you. But I know it's taken years to build that, but I love that. That encourages me to continue to strive for that, Lord willing, in the future, the longer we're in it, to have that kind of business where it's just referral based. It just keeps coming to you.
There was a point 10 years ago in my life that the Lord shared that and put that on my heart, that I was only supposed to work with people that I've worked with before, or people that refer me to.
Yeah.
Refer me to them.
Yes.
So I've been obedient to that. There's been tests. There's been times where I realized I'm not supposed to take this opportunity because that's a cold lead, and it's not. So in what I do in those situations, I'll give those leads to people that are on our team. So and it's hard. Sometimes business is a little slow, and you want to vary from what God told you to do, but you have to be obedient.
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah. What is it? Partial disobedience or partial obedience is disobedience or whatever. I mean, it's just, well, I love how you're continuing to grow your business like that. So just a couple more things. How do you continually grow spiritually in your life and professionally? What are some of the ways, some of the, maybe the disciplines, or how you personally grow as a believer, and as a real estate agent?
I think that there's things that we do or should do on a daily basis, and so I'm a very habitual person. I have a very addictive personality, so I have had to learn over the years. And you and I'm sure that maybe you will share some of this. But I have not had a drink in 34 years, and people
Yes.
say to me, "Well, how come you don't drink?" And I always answer, because I was really good at it.
Yeah.
Um, and
And if you weren't good at it, you weren't doing it the right way. I'll
yeah,
just throw that out there.
so I realized that I was not being the Christian husband and father that I should be about 35 years ago, and realized I needed to make a change in my life. And thank the Lord that I did, because my wife shared with me in the last couple of years that if I had not stopped drinking, she said, I don't think we'd still be married right now. She had never threatened me, never brought it up over all those years, but she told me that, and it was like, well, see, God knew what the answer was for me and my life, and my life with my wife and my family. And so I know that I have a very addictive personality. And I've taken that addiction. I've tried to take that addictive personality and turn it into good and good positive things. So I've always
Yes.
taken really good care of myself. I have always exercised and never been heavy. So I just have that attitude and that approach to life of making it happen, and always working hard and staying in good shape. So some of that, with an addictive personality, one of the first things that I do every day when I wake up, before I walk out the door, I read my Bible. And so I probably have read the Bible backwards and forwards 10 times over
Yeah.
over the years.
It's awesome.
Even to the point my Bible's about worn out.
Yeah.
But
That's a good sign. That's awesome.
you got to take good things. So be that person. Do things on a day in and day out basis. Be in prayer. I never go to sleep without praying for my family, and for friends and relatives, and putting God in control of my life. There's been times where, because my wife says your head hits the pillow and you're out. So there's been times where I fall asleep and I didn't pray, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's like God reminds me, you didn't pray.
Yeah.
So I go into prayer at 2. I don't even know what time it is. 2 o'clock,
Right.
3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think it's taking those kind of things and being consistent about everything that you do in your life. So I have certain routines that I do. I work from home now. I'm sitting at my desk at home. I have an office right off our master bedroom. And some people say, "Oh, you can't be successful working from home because you're not going to be disciplined enough." Well, I am disciplined. That's the way you have to be. That you have a certain job, you have certain things, and you need to do those things day in and day out. So when things get bad or things get slow, in real estate, it's like that all the time. It's never consistently. You're so busy, and then sometimes you get so busy that you don't know what to do. and then you get caught up and things close, and then you got to feed the hopper again, get things going
Yes.
again. You have to be
Right.
disciplined. You have to do those things day in and day out. So I'm I'm constantly following up with past customers, um, following up with opportunities. Who do I need to touch? How do I get things going strongly again and building up those pending sales that then lead to the closings? You have to be that person of consistency, day in and day out, doing the same things. Always, in a sense, you're always looking for new opportunities and capitalizing on those opportunities. And again, being that person of faith and doing and integrity, doing things the right way, and always following God's example and God's lead.
That's good. I think so many of us need to hear that, just the consistency, the disciplines, staying at it, right? Every day you're making your calls, you're looking at the hot sheet. You and I have talked about that. You've always said you need to be in the business. You've always said that. Stay in the business, which, check your hot sheet every day, look at what pended, what sold, what's going on in the marketplace. Huge, huge.
Yeah, it's interesting you just said that because I have my screen pulled up on this on another monitor right next to me. Every night before I shut my computer down, I go and look at my saved searches and send out opportunities for people that I'm working with, buyers. I also look at new listings, price changes, back on market, sold, expireds, pendings. I'm just trying to stay abreast of what's going on in the market. And sometimes it's something that you might have shown one of your customers, and you need to know, well, yeah, that went pending, that's off the market. You need to keep on top of things like that.
Yeah,
So
because
I never turn my computer off until I do that.
that's good. Yeah, because you've got to know the market, right? They're trusting you that what's the
Right.
market looking like. You got to know them. You got to be the market expert. Yeah. Last thing, what legacy, and this is a perfect tee up question because you and I have talked about this so many times, but what kind of legacy are you trying to leave, those through your work and your faith? What kind of legacy? And you can take that however you want, personally, professionally, whatever the Lord brings to your heart, your mind.
I think the most important part in that whole legacy is that you're a godly person. That everything that you do, everything that you say, you did it based on your relationship with the Lord. And being that person of integrity, I mean, the way you are that is just you live and breathe that day in and day out. You don't vary from that. You're just that person. Be that. If that's what you profess to be, what you want to be, then you have to be that in every aspect of your life, day in and day out, and never vary.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
sometimes in our humanness, we want to do things a little differently.
Sure.
Um, it's easy in the real estate business sometimes to say, well, what's most important? I remember I used to work for a person. He was our broker at one time, and he used to always say to me when I would talk to him about situations, and he'd always say, well, it's all about the money. And I said, no, it's all about the Lord.
Yes.
It's all about how you treat other people. And
Yes.
he would
Yes.
say, no, it's all about the money. And I would say, no, it's all about the Lord, and it's all how you how you treat other people. And I said, we're never going to agree on this. So
Right.
let's not discuss this or debate this anymore, because it's all in how you have the right to think the way you do. I have the right to think the way I do. Well, the way I think is that everything that we do in life is about our relationship with God, and being his person, being his people in the world, living that and breathing and living that every day of our lives.
Yeah. Amen, man. That's awesome. I know who you're talking about. We've worked with some great brokers. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Still love him today. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Having a conversation with him today would be the same way.
It would be the same way, and we'd laugh.
Yeah.
We'd laugh about it because he's just a good dude. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, man, I know you have dropped some serious nugget bombs, wisdom, today during our 30-minute conversation. And I do appreciate it, brother. Appreciate our relationship, our friendship, most importantly, our business relationship. And I'm going to drop all of Russ's contact information below in the notes. So if you want to reach out to him, call him, text him, email him, he's happy to connect with you, whether it's just advice from a real estate agent, as a brother in the Lord, or if you want to talk to Russ about eXp Realty and how you can join our Realtors of Faith group, we'd love to connect with you. So, Russ, thanks again, brother, for
You're welcome,
hanging
Brian.
out today.
And I will reiterate what you just said. If anybody wants to talk to me in any way, if I can help you in any way with your business and anything in life, I love to talk to people. If you're local, I love to meet people for coffee and have the opportunity to mentor them in any way. So Brian's being correct and serious when he says that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Okay.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Thanks. See you too. Bye.